Well, Toby, maybe starting that, those photos, delighted victory, the wins, just what did it mean?
It meant the end of an 8-year wait, that's what it meant. So from, that's, it was a big thing for us because it's a sign of progress. It's a good big thing for us because they're our nearest and dearest. And there was a lot of emotion around my first Christmas derby down there. Not for me personally, it was for me, but a lot of the boys in my tenure have not been around that for a while. So yeah, it was pleasing. Probably not as clean as we'd have liked it, especially in the first half. But we found a way, and that's important.
And you move on now to a different sort of rivalry. At the moment, you're the top Welsh region. Top Welsh region, and you're facing this Cardiff side who got a bit of confidence about them.
Oh yeah, massively so. I mean, they're playing really well. And if you look at their last few games, you look at the Toulouse game, performance-wise, playing very, very well. The Bath game, and also obviously the Dragons' performance. Yeah, they've got a lot of confidence, scoring a lot of tries, and we're going to need to be, very, very sharp, especially defensively, I think, because they pose an attacking threat. We know they don't play any rugby in their half, so they're limiting their risk, and as a result, we'll have to be very good, in that transition, because they're going to kick the ball a lot, and making sure we can maintain things on our terms are going to be really important for us.
A different venue, Toby, a home game in Bridgend, different venue, different ground, different sort of atmosphere and sort of surface. Does that make much difference to players and coaches?
I think players always love playing at places that are full, and I think that brings a nice atmosphere to it. It's a bit of a, maybe it's just the old traditionalist in me. I nearly said cynic there, but that could also be true. In the fact that we're playing on grass, which doesn't happen as often as it used to. But no one's been playing on it, so we're happy it's going to be a decent surface. Obviously, it depends what happens in the weather from here until now, and who knows what that's going to be like. And we had some positive experience there. We played Northampton, for example, in a pre-season friendly there, which was a good night out. So there's some positive memories in that. And there was a really good atmosphere. So we need to recreate that, and we're excited about that.
I mean, people talk about Wales a top region, Toby, but ultimately you want to be in that top 8, don't you, for those playoffs at the end of the season. You're 9th at the moment. There's a bit of a break in this competition afterwards. How important is it to sort of finish this little block on a high?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be that's certainly part of our thinking for sure. We knew that the 13 weeks was going to be challenging for everybody, not just us, because of the World Cup schedule, and it certainly has so, certainly from an injury list point of view. And I think that all the Welsh regions have been exposed a little bit at different times, some more than others. But as you say, if we can sign off positively here, it'll be a probably in context a job decently done. But there's still a long way to go, so it's not the be all and end all. We understand how important it is, and the matching the emotion of last weekend is going to be really, really important, because I thought we were emotional but had a lot of control, certainly in the second half, and in Welsh derbies often that's a difficult thing.
Just on that control, can I just ask you about Owen Williams, who obviously can help control that really well second half, that drop goal, keeping the butter ticking. I mean, he was obviously great at the beginning of the year. He's had a few injuries, been away with Wales, and he seems to have come back now, and he's had a couple of games. How would you assess where he is and what he brings to you in this current side?
Just exactly what you said, really, because that's almost. I thought you'd actually given him the team talk that I gave him post game and obviously this morning, because good players are good players, and sometimes when you need to play your way in and get into a groove, and he's his own harshest critic. So sometimes my job is to stop them beating themselves up too much, and I think that for Owen, he sets a set of standards, and it can be frustrating for any player not to meet them. But I think even in the Montpellier game and this game, I think we've seen more like the Owen Williams of that we expected, and he expects of himself, and the team benefits massively. As you say, the drop goal was a massively important part in the momentum of the game, and to do that you've got to be at the top of your game, both to execute and to see it. So from that point of view, we're obviously delighted to see him back playing at his best, which is important, because obviously there's a Six Nations coming around the corner, and there's not too many tens about, so his timing's good.
You say that 6-day turnaround, obviously a lot of games. How are you sort of looking after that? After that match at the Scarlets.
We're used to training once a week these days, so from that point of view, it's it is what it is. We stayed inside today to try and keep the meterage down and try and keep our freshness. That's important because ultimately derbies are emotional things, and we'd be foolish not to appreciate the emotion that went on into last weekend. So we need to give people time to physically recover, get the fuel in, and also give them mental recovery and change the oil and the oil filters to make sure that we're okay.
And just you're obviously missing Jack and Justin. Adam led the side very well on the weekend. Just in terms of the sort of leadership skills of like Adam Beard and Dewi Lake, who we know that they've got a lot of leaders there at the Ospreys. Just on those two, because obviously Warren Gatland will be looking for a new captain now. What are their qualities at different stages of their career?
Well, I think that, as you say, we've got a lot of leadership by design. We invest a lot of time into leadership in our program, actually, and the way that we coach, but also those particular leadership group about having a lot of autonomy and a lot of input into what we do. So it's not new when they're asked to step up. Morgan Morris the same, Will Griff the same. The boys you met, Owen Watkins, another one outside their functional role. So Nicky Smith. We've got a lot of people that can captain the team, and from our point of view, that's great because in pressurised environments, you want a set of coherent leaders that are all on the same page. So we're less worried about who captains the side. It's who captains the moment, and that's a good place for us to be. I think that from a leadership point of view, the first rule of leadership, I think, in rugby union is people that lead by example, and the people that you mentioned, I think they all do that. And then it's the ones that can bring clarity to their communication and the game situation. So as I said, we spend time examining parts of the game, whether we should kick the goal here or go to the corner, or how we manage, how we speak to referees, how we as I said, it's part of our program. So I think if that's the leadership they're looking for, I think the game's gone. I think it's not just one leader anymore anyway. I think because people have so much to deal with, and those two are great leaders, as you say.
And have you seen the growth in them since they've been there? Because they've both gone into international rugby. Adams obviously was dropped a couple of years ago and he's come back really, really strong. And there he is, established himself as an international player since you've been there.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, he's not our own. Gartom, he wasn't involved at all before. And he leads around his physicality and the way he plays, and is arguably the starting loose head for Wales. So again, there's a good example about leading in your functional role. So, as I said, I'm not surprised because we're deliberate about how we try and generate it and promote it. But what I am really pleased about for them is that they can do it on a consistent basis and put the team first, as well as deliver high performances for themselves. And that's sometimes where leadership can get a little bit tricky when you're not playing so well or you're finding it a little bit difficult, and they've maintained a high playing standard as well as a high leadership standard.
Final one from me, Toby. We often get accused in the media, and perhaps it's right that we only focus on Wales rather than the regions.
Surely not.
Yes, I know. So with that in mind, just with Jack, do you expect to see him in an Ospreys jersey? I'm not asking about Wales before the end of the season, which obviously goes on till June this year.
No, I do. Yeah, no, I do expect to see him back playing for sure. As I said, it's more months than weeks. And now the cat's out the bag, as it's saying. And I wanted to make sure we kept the emphasis on the team, as you know. And Jack wouldn't want it any other way. He just wants to get on and we're getting better. So from that point of view, again, another selfless act on his behalf. But yeah, I don't see any reason for him to be back playing, before the end of the season for sure.
Thank you, Toby. Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Toby, I just suggested to Gareth that we tend to get a bit hung up on local derbies and that doing well in the league is the more important thing. Your counterpart at Swansea City got pilloried for saying that he'd rather get promotion than beat Cardiff City twice, and the fans went mad. But wouldn't you rather win the league than beat Cardiff or Scarlets twice?
Oh, 100%. I think what beating the Scarlets twice does, puts another year on my contract, hopefully. But apart from that, it has no sentiment whatsoever. No, it's.
No, we can sort that out. We can get you out. I can tell you.
No, from my point of view, what it does, it gives you momentum, and it's important for the fans. So I don't think you can underestimate that. And these are the people that effectively contribute to our existence. So I don't think you have to choose one or the other. However, signs of progress for us is, we've gone well in Welsh derbies in my time here. We've won the Welsh Shield, which proves one thing, and obviously we're second to Cardiff last year, and that was, the table doesn't lie. But ultimately, despite very difficult circumstances, the challenge is to be competitive, in the league that you play in. So, I think the first success for any Welsh region is to get themselves into the playoffs for sure. Yeah. But the backdrop of where we're coming from is making that more and more difficult because you're at a little bit more lap of the injury gods. But I can only say from my own experience and also what I look elsewhere at is I think that the coaches and the players are making a good fist of it despite the difficulties they find themselves in, and that shows that they care about playing for their regions and also playing for Wales, because it's a very big challenge, but professional sport is around meeting challenge, and that's the exciting part.
So rather than portraying this as a battle between two old friends, this is more, in my eyes certainly, a battle to get into the top 8. Well, whichever one of you wins could well do that.
If you look at the Welsh Shield in the last period, the reason that people, apart from the regional rivalry, and the positional rivalry, because people are trying to get themselves in front of other people in the pecking order for Wales, right? Is it's an important milestone in the fact that we're playing with the same deck of cards, from a financial resource point of view. So actually, your expectation could be comparable. So I think that those are the things that compare it to why it's actually an important fixture, or they're all important fixtures. And there's not much distance between. It's often emotional and who executes on the day. However, you're absolutely right. The big picture is who can make the next step in spite of, not because of. And that is the challenge for us all.
So given that, Cardiff won the Shield last year, hopefully benefiting from being in the Champions Cup just as you did last year. I mean, the experience against Montpellier and Leicester must have made a huge difference to you as a coaching team and a group in growing. Are we ready for one of you two at the top there to maybe jump into the quarterfinal or the last 16 or whatever, the top 8? And maybe we need to see a team being competitive.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do, and no one's going to shy away from that. If you offered that now, everyone will take your hand off, right? So we all know what we're trying to get to. The unfortunate side of it is you've got to, on occasions in seasons, limp your way through difficult periods. We have 2 meetings today as an example, right? And the first meeting is a sort of a catch-up meeting, a review meeting, and an admin meeting. The second is more detailed. The injured group was in the first one, and they weren't in the second one because of scheduling. And the group's half the size. And that's just the reality. That's not an excuse. That's just reality. And we will control our controllables. Whereas, as I said previously, we've got probably more strength in depth or strength in numbers. We were 18 out, 2 in. That's just the reality of what we've got. So I think to get to the holy grail of the playoffs, which is what we're all trying to do, you need a little bit of luck. You need to stay fit and healthy because you just haven't got that depth of resources that you potentially used to have.
And I guess as well as staying fit and healthy, it's about earning the right, building a squad, and you must be very fearful about what's going to happen at the end of the season.
Well, the belief aspect, right? So, like anything, go back to what you talked about before. Why the European experiences was important. Why it's important to win. Nothing gives you confidence more than winning or performing well, right? And obviously the environment that you've got, because it can mask 1,000 sins at times where you need a little bit. A little bit of resilience. So you've got to put as much air in the balloon as you can. and those things are important. So that gives you the motivation to want to keep going, because what we do is tough, and it's not getting any easier.
Yeah. You talked about maybe extending a contract. We'd all be delighted.
I'm joking. No.
No. But I just wondered, coming back to that point about recruitment and retainment, how difficult that's going to be come the end of the season.
Yeah, it is. I mean, those conversations are going on. We're still trying to find what the financial position is in a couple of years, because it's all, we know where it's going next year, because you want to, look after you. And I'm confident we will keep the majority of players that we want to keep this year, because of we're in a 3-year period. This wasn't a surprise for us in relation to we're promoting the youth of our players. There might be a little bit of collateral damage on the way. We can't control that. And as I've said, around the George North thing, for example, in recent times, I completely understand the necessity of people in their times in their career where they have to do right for their family and stages of their career, and we can't. There's certain things we just have to put our hands up and say we can't compete.
Yeah. The good thing, though, is that when you look at how you've brought James Fender in and through, you're seeing that, as you have done with Harry Deeves, all of a sudden you've got some people you can really rely on, are capable of playing at this level, because you've blooded them in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Warren, Reece Henry, Darry Lake, obviously before that.
Yes.
Lewis Lloyd, who's a new one. Hugh Sutton, James Fender, Tristan Davis.
Max, I guess, Max.
Yeah, Max Nagy. Yeah, so look, it's just what we do here, It's just what we do here, and the energy of youth is infectious. So that's why I enjoy working with those boys, and that helps to keep me young, which is an ongoing challenge.